So we were requested to announce for those requiring communication services. We had 2 ASL interpreters. One was in a car accident on the way here. That person is fine, but that just explains why there's only one. So just wanted to make that announcement. So this is a study on language development milestones and parent resources for young, deaf, and hard of hearing children. There were 265 individuals provided public comments and 9 organizations listed here. The vast majority of these comments were in the form of 4 different kinds of form letters. Form letter number 1, which you have in your packet, accounted for over 90% of the individual comments, and around half of those who submitted comments that were aligned with form number 1 were our Virginia residents. So moving to the policy options. Number 1, take no action. One of those organizations were in support of that as a first preference, although did provide positions on additional policy options if there is action taken. And then a number of individuals and organizations were against take no action. Number 2 was introducing legislation and a budget amendment based on the bill that was the mandate for the study. And this slide and the following slide just lists the different recommended changes that the report provided. Form letter number 1 was supported this option, and the other 3 form letters opposed it. And you can see some individuals that were not form letter comments took positions as well. And that provides more information. Policy option number 3 has to do with leveraging existing literacy data that are already collected by the Department of Education to expand knowledge about literacy achievement for this population. The report highlighted that the bill envisioned a new data collection effort on language development milestones. This would be to take existing literacy-related data collected beginning in pre-kindergarten and through grade school, using the Virginia longitudinal data system, combine that with VDH's early hearing detection and intervention data that will, going forward, beginning next year, provide information on any child under the age of 3 diagnosed with hearing loss in order to understand a literacy achievement, not just of deaf and hard of hearing students who are on IEPs in the public schooling system, but any child who is in the public schooling system that was diagnosed with hearing loss by the age of 3. And the comments, there was one form letter and 1 organization in support, and 2 form letters and individuals opposed to this option. Policy option number 4 had to do with requesting the agencies listed here to, instead of developing a new parent resource, use existing resource guides that are already being produced for this population, find a way to add language development milestones to that, involving a stakeholder process, and then going forward, incorporate language development milestones into those existing resource guides. Policy option number 5 is requesting the agencies listed here to come together, and given that childhood hearing loss is a low incidence condition, many stakeholders emphasize that at the beginning, at least, it can be difficult to understand who to turn to, where to get services. And so this would be requesting these agencies to come together and make sure that the information that they produce and provide is both consistent in scope and content, regardless of what their particular purview is. There's a complicated system of services and supports, and this is to ensure that parents get that information in a user-friendly way. Policy option number 6 has to do with the provision of early intervention services. Currently, it is not covered, is not a Medicaid covered service. This is asking DMAS and DBHDS to come together to propose a way forward that early intervention services could be delivered by telepractice and reimbursed as a Medicaid eligible service. And the last policy option has to do with, as written here, exploring opportunities to develop programs connecting families of deaf and hard of hearing children to deaf and hard of hearing adults as a low incidence condition. Stakeholders emphasize that it just is difficult to get information on services. It's also helpful to understand the trajectory that this can take and be in contact with those who have lived experience. And so this is an option to for these agencies to come together and propose a way forward for a mentoring program with combining deaf and hard of hearing adults with the goal of increasing the uptake of early intervention services. And as you can see here, there was organizations both in support and in opposition to this policy option. And those are the policy options in front of you.
Members? Any feedback? Do you want us to take action as we go? So what is the position of the members in regards to policy recommendations? Does the silence means that you're in agreement with number one, take no action? So who's gonna make that recommendation?
Madam Chair, I intend to put in something myself.
So you recommend that we take no action?
No, I don't.
I would, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, just
Delegate Hope?
Andrew, it looks like to me what you've laid out here, there's no consensus amongst different groups. Is that correct? And so I don't, if that was your hope, Senator Edwards, to find some consensus, I don't think you found it. And so I think it's probably up to you as if you want to bring your bill back, in what form you want to do that. So I would ask that you make a motion, whatever you want to do.
It is certainly complicated. I've thumbed through this, but I have not digested it all. And
Could you talk into the mic so that?
Yes, I've thumbed through it. I've not digested it all. I think something does need to be done. At this point, I don't have a recommendation as what.
So,
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
yes.
I move policy option number one, which, and speaking of that motion briefly, which simply means, thank you, that simply means that JCHC is not endorsing any posture today, and that the General Assembly, which will be meeting in 2 months, we're basically telling them we don't have consensus yet. Hopefully that body will find consensus, but we still don't have it yet. And we've been looking for consensus for about 2 years now. We still don't have it. So that's why I think today that's still the best option.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second.
Madam Chairman,
Delegate.
if I could, because I agree, we don't have consensus on this, and I think the hope was that we'd be able to work out something that we'd be able to move forward with, and we'll leave it to Senator Edwards and the groups to continue to work through the General Assembly process. I guess the two that I was interested in hearing a little bit more about whether there were strong concerns was option number 4 and option number 5. So those are non-legislative. Option 4 seemed to move along the path of strengthening existing resources. And then number 5 seemed to deal more with making sure that our complicated entry system is streamlined so that at least users of services have a better understanding of what their options are available. It looks like most of those have very strong support, perhaps with 2 outliers there. And I'm just curious what the potential opposition was to those 2 options, number 4 and 5.
Refer to my notes, but yes, there, and that, and actually option number 6 as well. There was some degree there was no consensus on any of these, as you can see, but more.
I want to, while he's checking it, I want to caution members that we all received about 75 pages plus of all of the information that we had an opportunity to review prior to coming today. So I hope we will not be asking, that we're not setting a precedent, that we're going to ask staff to go back and redo the down that they've already done and present it to us. Because we have all this information. If we pull it up on electronically, we have this information in our notes because that was sent to us. So just govern yourselves accordingly and answer his question.
And I think in 4, 5, and 6, I think the opposition was either it didn't go far enough or it didn't really address what that particular group of people or persons thought was the most important issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Delegate.
Thank you.
Hello.
I have a quick follow-up question. So that your last explanation of why they objected was not so much that they objected, it just was not the issue that those two groups thought they should pursue.
I think it's a combination of both.
Oh, so
depending on the particular option and commenter.
Okay.
But there was a bit of both.
All right. Well, I was going to suggest what Delegate Bulova had suggested, and I think I will do that anyway. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair.
Is that a substitute? Is there, we have a motion has been moved and properly second and.
Well, that
So,
was my
no,
question.
I'm-
We're not discussing the option, the motion. We're discussing other options, and there's not been any options put before us to discuss other than option one.
So is the motion on the floor a substitute?
No, the motion
No.
on the floor is that take no action on number 1, and it has been moved and second. And so that's the only option that we have up for discussion because we did not move to another option, only option 1. And if option 1 passes, then there is
Well,
Okay.
that eliminates
Yeah,
everything.
Madam Chair, if I could, and I guess it relates to option number 1, because I'm trying to get a sense of whether there is any interest in number 4 or number 5 as something to move forward. And if there is not particular interest, then I'm happy to go with option number 1 and we'll just move forward that way. And so that was kind of the purpose of my question. And if there is not a particular interest from the maker of the motion, I'll fall back and we'll just move forward with option number 1.
The maker of the motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would renew my motion for option 1. I just, sitting in between Senate Education and Health and this body, I just don't think that we're out of place yet to recommend any posture. And I hope that, by March we are, but I don't know if we will be, but we're still not there today. And I just don't feel good about us I think when we recommend something, it generally means there's significant bipartisan support from this group to go forward. And I haven't seen significant support in either party or any region to go forward with anything yet.
I'll just say that it doesn't seem to be a consensus today to do anything but address option number 1. There has been moved and properly second, and I think we need to do a roll call on this one to make sure where we are.
I'm going to start from the bottom because you're always at the top. So,
Mix this up for me, right?
Yes.
Reverse alphabetical
Yeah, I'm gonna
every
be
once in a
nice.
while?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
so I'm going to start with Senator Sitterman or Sturtevant. Yes. Alrighty. Senator Lucas.
Yes.
Senator Edwards.
Yes.
Senator Donovan.
Yes.
Senator Dance.
Yes.
Senator Carrico. Senator Barker, are you on the line? I did email them both just to make sure that perhaps maybe we're not able to hear them. So they can get back to me on the email, and if there's a problem, we'll get it fixed.
Okay.
Delegate Stolley? Delegate Peace? Delegate Corey?
aye with the comment that I'm disappointed that we haven't chosen to move forward on a couple of other options.
Thank you. Delegate Ingram? Delegate Hope?
Aye.
Delegate Garrett?
Aye.
And Delegate Boulevard? All righty,
Motion carried.
all ayes.
Okay. The second study was increased prescription delivery options at the same cost for health plan members. There were two comments received from the Virginia Pharmacists Association and the Pharmaceutical Care Management Association. Essentially, they took opposite positions on the different policy options. Just to go quickly through, take no action. It's option number one. Option number two was to introduce legislation authorizing the Bureau of Insurance to license and regulate PBMs through insurance companies.